She saw his thoughts unintentionally and discovered he'd been HFY Stories. Best HFY Stories, Jessa Cole adjusted the worn leather straps of her utility belt and squinted at the setting twin suns of the mining colony on Vera. Dust swirled around the squat metal buildings, catching the last orange rays of light and making the entire frontier settlement look like it was burning from within. She hated this part of the day. The heat was gone. But the shadows were long, stretching across the narrow walkways like fingers reaching for trouble. She shoved the heavy toolkit back into the satchel at her side. The neural scanner she had been working on hummed faintly on the workbench in front of her. Most people in the colony didn't understand its purpose. It was meant to read minor brainwave patterns, just small signals for quick communication or medical monitoring. Nothing dangerous, Jessa thought. At least that's what she had always believed. A sudden knock on the side door made her flinch. "Hey, you still tinkering with that thing?" a calm voice called. Jessa looked up. Standing in the doorway was a tall man in a dust-streaked coat. His dark hair fell carelessly over his forehead, and his bright green eyes scanned the workshop like he was measuring it for a purpose. She had never seen him before. "Who are you?" she asked, wiping sweat from her forehead. "Name's Cale Rourke," he said with a small nod. "I heard you're the one who can fix things no one else dares to touch." Jessa raised an eyebrow. She didn't usually get compliments, and strangers weren't exactly common visitors. "Depends on what you mean by fix." "I don't repair broken promises," she said, letting a grin slip through despite herself. Cale chuckled, stepping closer. "Not promises, machines. I've got something that might interest you, if you're willing to take a look." She hesitated, but curiosity won. Jessa had always been the type who couldn't resist a challenge, especially if it involved tech she didn't understand. "Fine. Show me." Cale placed a small device on the table, something no bigger than a standard holopad. It was sleek, metallic, and hummed softly. The surface shimmered faintly with patterns that seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat. Jessa leaned closer, adjusting her goggles. She had seen a lot of tech in her life, but this was different. It wasn't just advanced, it felt alive. "What does it do?" she asked. Cale hesitated for a moment. "It reads thoughts. Well, small ones. Not your deepest secrets, just minor signals for communication. It's supposed to help with strategic planning when humans work with alien species who don't share our language or cues." Jessa's brow furrowed. "Sounds dangerous." "Maybe," Cale said quietly. "But humans are dangerous in ways aliens don't expect. That's why it works." Something in the way he said it made Jessa's gut tighten. She didn't trust easily, and she especially didn't trust someone who spoke as if he already knew her thoughts. She wanted to push the device away, to tell him this was too much, but before she could, her fingers brushed a small panel on the side of it. A jolt ran up her arm, sharp but not painful. Her vision blurred for a second, then cleared, and that's when she saw it. Not just images, not just flashes of someone's memory, but thoughts. Cale's thoughts. Bright, clear, moving faster than words could describe. At first it was random. A memory of a narrow escape from a ship boarding, the smell of burned metal, the taste of recycled air. Then came something stranger. Images of Cale leading human forces against alien marauders, organizing defenses, and helping settlements like hers. Each image struck her with disbelief. He had been everywhere humans were underestimated. Everywhere humans were thought weak or careless, Cale had been there, quietly changing the outcome with courage and clever planning. Jessa staggered back, gripping the table. This wasn't just a machine malfunction. It was a window into someone's mind, someone extraordinary. She felt a mix of awe and fear. She had always believed humans had strength, but seeing it so vividly in someone else, it was overwhelming. Cale's voice cut through her thoughts. "You saw that?" Jessa whirled to face him. His expression wasn't angry, just curious, maybe cautious. I didn't mean to." He shook his head. "It happens sometimes. Not many can handle it, though." Jessa took a step back, shaking her head. "Handle what? Seeing all that in someone else's mind?" That's not normal," Cale nodded slowly. "No, it isn't. But normal isn't what humans need to survive out here. We have to adapt. We have to do things differently." Something about the way he said it made Jessa pause. She had grown up on frontier planets where survival was a daily challenge. Humans weren't always the strongest or the fastest, but clever, resourceful. They could outthink almost anyone. And Cale seemed to embody that spirit entirely. The wind howled outside, carrying dust into the open doorway. Jessa turned back to the neural scanner, now more interested than afraid. "Why are you here?" she asked. "To see if you'd help me," Kale said. "I can't do everything alone. And right now, humans need more people like you." She laughed softly, a dry, short laugh. "People like me? What am I? A mechanic with a gun?" Kale smiled faintly. "More than that, you see things others don't. You notice patterns. You survive." "That's exactly what's needed out here." Jessa studied him for a long moment. She didn't usually trust strangers, but something about Kale, the way he carried himself, the unspoken weight in his thoughts, the quiet certainty that he had seen danger and survived, made her reconsider. "Fine," she said finally. "I'll help, but I don't promise it's going to be easy. Or safe." Kale's green eyes gleamed. "I wouldn't ask for anything less." For the next hour, Jessa and Kale worked side by side. She adjusted the scanner's settings, careful not to touch the panel again. He explained bits of his plans for protecting remote colonies, always careful not to reveal everything at once. Yet in every word, in every gesture, there was a sense of urgency. Danger was coming, and humans like them couldn't wait for orders. They had to act. As the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Jessa stepped outside to stretch. The wind hit her face, carrying the metallic scent of the colony and the faint tang of dust from the mines. She felt the weight of what she had glimpsed in Kale's thoughts pressing in. He wasn't just a wandering adventurer. He was a hero in the making, quietly shaping events that most humans would never know about. And now she had seen it all. The realization left her unsettled. Jessa had always known humans were capable of extraordinary things, but she had never imagined witnessing it so directly, seeing the courage and strategy of someone in action before it even happened. She glanced back at Kale, who was still inside, tinkering with the scanner as if it were a simple tool. His focus, his calm, his quiet confidence, it was almost unsettling. And yet, inspiring. Jessa shook her head, trying to clear the whirlwind of thoughts. There was no going back now. She had glimpsed a truth most people would never see, and it had changed her. As the first stars appeared in the sky above Vera, 9, she made a decision. She would help Kale. She didn't know how far this path would take her, or what dangers lay ahead, but one thing was certain: humans, when they worked together, could achieve more than anyone, alien or human, expected. And perhaps, just perhaps, she was about to become part of a story bigger than she had ever imagined. The twin moons reflected off the metal roofs, silver and silent. Somewhere beyond the colony, a shadow moved, a hint of danger approaching. Jessa tightened her grip on her toolkit and squared her shoulders. Whatever was coming, she would face it. But first, she had to learn to see the world through Kale's thoughts, even if only a little. The night on Vera. 9 was quiet, but Jessa didn't feel at ease. The twin moons cast pale light over the dusty colony, and every shadow seemed to stretch farther than it should. She had spent years surviving on frontier planets, but tonight was different. Tonight she carried the knowledge of Kale Rourke's thoughts, and it weighed on her like a heavy pack on her shoulders. Inside the workshop, Kale worked in silence. The neural scanner hummed softly, tiny lights blinking in rhythm. He moved with confidence, almost like he was dancing with the machine, adjusting wires and panels, checking readings. Jessa watched him from the doorway. There was something in his calm that unsettled her. She had seen bravery before, but Kale's courage was not loud or reckless. It was quiet, deliberate, and strangely inspiring. Finally, Kale straightened and looked up. His green eyes caught hers. "You're thinking about what you saw," he said, not as a question, but as a statement. Jessa crossed her arms. "Yeah. And it's a lot. You're not just some traveler passing through. You've been doing all these. Helping colonies, fighting aliens, and you've done it all without anyone knowing." Kale nodded. "Someone has to. If humans reveal everything they do, the galaxy underestimates us less. Then the aliens plan more carefully. That's why I stay quiet. The less they know, the safer the colonies are." Jessa's eyes narrowed. "And the danger? Don't you get tired of facing it alone?" "Sometimes," Kale admitted, "but I've learned to be careful and to plan. Humans survive not because we are the strongest, but because we think, we adapt, and we act when others hesitate." Jessa felt a strange mix of respect and unease. She had always been proud of humans' resourcefulness, but seeing it in someone else, in action across the stars, made it real in a way she could not ignore. She swallowed. "So, you want me to help?" Kale hesitated. "I'm asking you to observe first. To understand. I can't risk everyone knowing what I've done, not yet. But I need someone I can trust, someone who sees the patterns, notices what others overlook. Jessa rubbed the back of her neck. And why me? You noticed me without judgment. You saw the truth, not just the surface. That's rare. Jessa felt a flicker of pride. Rare, huh? That sounded good. And maybe she could do more than just fix machines. Maybe she could make a real difference here. Before she could answer, a loud alarm cut through the night. The colony's central tower flashed red. A shrill warning echoed through the streets. Aliens? Jessa asked, already moving toward the door. Cale grabbed a small device from the table. Possibly. But it could be scouts. I need to see. They moved quickly through the winding paths of the colony, the dust rising in clouds around their boots. Jessa kept her hand near the blaster on her hip. She had faced dangers before. Smugglers, wild animals, and even rogue mining drones. But the thought of alien scouts brought a different tension. Something unfamiliar and dangerous. At the edge of the settlement, Cale crouched behind a metal crate and gestured for Jessa to do the same. He pointed to the horizon, where faint shapes moved against the red dust. Small, fast, and strange, they didn't look like any human or machine she had seen. "They're scouts," Cale whispered. "We need to slow them down before the others notice." Jessa's mind raced. "We don't have heavy weapons, just the basics." "What do you want me to do?" Cale smiled faintly. "I improvise. Humans are better at that than anyone else." Jessa's stomach tightened. Improvisation had saved her life countless times, but this was different. These aliens were not just thugs or raiders. They were intelligent, organized, and fast. And Cale, he had already planned something. They worked together silently, moving old crates, broken mining carts, and piles of scrap metal to create obstacles. Jessa noticed how Cale's thoughts moved fast, calculating distances, predicting the alien's path, and finding openings. And somehow she was able to follow his plans instinctively. She didn't need words. She just understood. The aliens approached, small, sleek ships hovering low. They emitted a low hum that made the dust ripple in waves. Cale pressed a small button on the device he had carried. A thin beam of light shot into the sky, briefly blinding the scouts. Jessa grabbed a blaster and fired, aiming carefully at the ship's sensors. Sparks flew, and the ships wobbled before retreating slightly. "You're good at this," Cale said, his voice calm but sharp. "You're not half bad either," Jessa replied, heart still racing. They worked together like that for hours, guiding the alien scouts into traps, creating confusion, and protecting the colony without anyone inside realizing the danger. Jessa could feel Cale's confidence rubbing off on her, teaching her to see possibilities she would have missed alone. Finally, the scouts retreated completely, leaving only the faint red haze of dust behind. Jessa lowered her blaster, exhausted but exhilarated. She had survived, and she had helped Cale protect the colony, not just with weapons, but with brains, instincts, and teamwork. Cale crouched beside her. "You see why I don't reveal everything? People might think humans are weak, but when we work together, when we adapt, we're unstoppable." Jessa nodded, breathing heavily. "I think I'm beginning to see it. And you're not just a hero for the colonies. You're showing me what humans can really do when no one else is watching." Cale looked at her, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Exactly. And soon we'll need more people like you. But first, you need to understand one thing. Danger isn't just outside, it's everywhere. And sometimes, the hardest battles are the ones we can't see coming." Jessa felt a chill despite the warm night air. "You mean, like the aliens might come back? Or something worse?" "Both," Cale said simply. "And we won't have time to prepare if we wait for them to strike openly. We have to act before anyone even knows the threat exists." Jessa nodded, understanding. She had always survived on instincts and experience, but now she realized she needed more. She needed knowledge, strategy, and courage she hadn't fully tapped before, and Cale seemed like the key to all of that. The two of them returned to the workshop, keeping low and alert. The colony slept, unaware of how close it had come to disaster. Jessa felt a strange sense of pride. Humans were underestimated, yes, but she had just experienced firsthand how deadly clever and brave they could be. Back inside, Cale adjusted the neural scanner once more. "If we're going to continue, you'll need to learn to see patterns the way I do. Not just machines, but people, situations, everything. That's the only way we survive." Jessa hesitated. "See patterns? You mean, like, your thoughts?" Kale's expression was serious. Not exactly. You won't read minds like I do. But you can learn to predict, to anticipate, to adapt. Humans are good at that. You already have the instincts. You just need to refine them. Jessa nodded slowly. So, you're saying I can be part of this? Part of the action. Yes, Kale said, his green eyes steady. And if you succeed, you'll help save more than just this colony. You'll help show the galaxy what humans are capable of. Jessa felt a thrill she hadn't felt in years. Fear was still there, yes, but excitement mixed with purpose. For the first time, she felt like she wasn't just surviving. She was part of something bigger, something important. She looked at Kale and then at the neural scanner. It had shown her a glimpse of what humans could do when they were clever, resourceful, and brave. And now she had the chance to help make that vision real. Outside, the twin moons shone down on Vera. 9. Dust swirled gently in the quiet night. Somewhere beyond the horizon, danger waited, but for the first time, Jessa felt ready. She had seen the truth in Kale's thoughts, and she had chosen to act. Humans were underestimated, but she knew now that underestimated humans were the most dangerous of all. And together, she and Kale were just getting started. The next morning on Vera. 9. The colony seemed calm, almost peaceful. The twin suns rose slowly, casting warm light over the metal roofs and dusty streets. But Jessa knew better. Danger never slept, and Kale had already begun planning their next move. She found him in the workshop, hunched over a table covered in gadgets, scraps of metal, and blinking lights. His green eyes looked up at her with a calm intensity. "Morning," Jessa said, rubbing her tired arms. "Sleep well?" Kale shook his head. "Not much. We don't have time. The scouts may return, and if they bring more, the colony won't stand a chance." Jessa nodded, feeling a familiar thrill of purpose. "So what's the plan?" Kale smiled faintly. "We make humans look dangerous." She frowned. "We're not exactly an army." "Not an army," he said, tapping a small device that hummed softly. "Improvised, clever, and unpredictable. That's exactly why humans win." He led her outside to a dusty clearing near the edge of the colony. Here the miners had abandoned old carts, broken drills, and heavy metal plates. Kale gestured to the scattered equipment. "We're going to make traps," he said. "Nothing fancy. Just enough to confuse them, slow them down, and make them think we're stronger than we are." Jessa's eyes sparkled. She loved thinking on her feet, turning nothing into something. "I like the sound of that." For the next few hours, they worked together, moving carts, stacking crates, and connecting wires to old mining machinery. Kale showed her how to rig a small drill to spin and shoot sparks when triggered, and how to make the broken carts roll down slopes to block paths. Every time he explained something, he spoke slowly, deliberately, making sure she understood. "You're learning fast," Kale said, noticing how quickly she picked up the ideas. "I had to survive alone for a long time," Jessa replied, tightening a rope. "I noticed patterns." Kale nodded. "Exactly what humans do best. You see things others don't. That's why we'll survive this." By evening, the improvised defenses were ready. Jessa stepped back, wiping sweat from her forehead. "Looks like a lot of junk to anyone else. But I guess it's enough to confuse them?" Kale's eyes gleamed. Enough to turn the tide. As darkness fell, they watched the horizon. The alien scouts returned, faster and larger this time. Their sleek ships glowed faintly in the moonlight, engines humming. Jessa felt her heart race, but she pushed the fear aside. "Kale asked?" "Always," she said, gripping her blaster.
The first ship descended too close to the traps accepted.
Sparks flew as the modified drills activated, sending bright flashes into the ship's sensors. Jessa aimed carefully, shooting at weak points she had spotted while Kale guided her movements. The ship wobbled, then veered off course. "Good," Kale whispered. "Keep going." The scouts tried to regroup, but every path they took led them into more traps. Metal carts rolled into their path, wires triggered alarms that flashed and blinked across the open clearing, and small improvised smoke devices blinded their sensors. Jessa was amazed at how quickly Kale could think, predicting the aliens' reactions before they even acted. She realized she was learning too, not just from his words, but from watching him work. Humans had survived the galaxy not because they were the strongest, but because they could adapt faster than anyone else. And now, she was beginning to see that adaptability in action. Hours passed. The battle was quiet, almost tense, but every move counted. Jessa and Kale moved silently, communicating without words, anticipating the aliens' path and adjusting traps in real time. She felt a strange thrill, the kind that came from knowing every choice mattered, and that humans were proving themselves in ways no one had expected. Finally, The last of the scouts retreated, their ships disappearing into the night sky. Jessa lowered her blaster, breathing heavily. The colony was safe for now, but she knew this was only the beginning. Cale crouched beside her. "You see why humans are underestimated?" he asked. Jessa nodded. "We're clever, quick, unpredictable, and we survive." "Exactly," Cale said, a hint of pride in his voice. "And this is just the start. If the aliens think humans are weak, they'll make bigger mistakes. We can use that." Jessa felt a mix of pride and excitement. She had survived countless dangers before, but this was different. This was strategy, intelligence, and courage combined. Humans weren't just surviving, they were winning by thinking ahead. The next day, the colony began to notice small changes. Workers spoke in hushed tones about strange movements near the edge of the settlement. Lights flickered mysteriously. Carts rolled in ways no one expected. Jessa and Cale smiled quietly to themselves, knowing that humans had made their mark. But Cale was serious. "We can't let this stop. If the aliens return with more ships, the traps won't be enough. We need to prepare for something bigger. And we need more people who understand human strengths." Jessa looked at him, determination in her eyes. "Then we find them. We teach them what humans can do." Cale nodded. "Exactly. And we start by showing that even small, clever actions can change the course of events. Humans are underestimated, but underestimated humans are dangerous. That's how we win." Jessa felt a thrill of purpose. For the first time, she wasn't just surviving. She was part of a movement, part of a plan that could change the galaxy's view of humans. She looked out over the dusty colony, the twin suns rising behind her, and felt a sense of pride she hadn't known before. "Ready for the next step?" Cale asked, noticing her expression. "Always," she said. "Let's show them what humans are made of." Over the next few days, they trained together, refining their traps, teaching workers simple tactics to confuse and mislead the aliens, and preparing for anything the next attack might bring. Jessa saw firsthand how humans could turn ordinary materials into powerful tools, how clever thinking could outmatch brute force, and how courage combined with planning could protect an entire colony. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Cale and Jessa sat outside the workshop, tired but satisfied. "You're learning fast," Cale said. "And you're teaching well, Jessa. I think I'm starting to see how humans really survive, not just with strength, but with brains and heart." Cale nodded. "Exactly. And the galaxy needs to see that. Humans aren't just survivors. We're innovators, protectors, problem solvers, and people like you are the future of that story." Jessa felt a surge of pride. She had never thought of herself as part of something bigger, but now she was. Humans were underestimated, yes, but that underestimation was their greatest weapon. The night air was calm, but both of them knew danger was never far away. The alien forces were intelligent, organized, and persistent, but Jessa no longer feared them. She had learned from Cale. She had seen human ingenuity in action, and she had discovered her own capacity to adapt and fight. "We can do this," she said quietly. Cale smiled faintly. "Yes, and together, we will. Humans are underestimated, and that is their greatest advantage." "Let's make sure the galaxy remembers that." The twin moons reflected off the metal roofs of Vera 9, casting silver light over the colony. Somewhere beyond the horizon, a new challenge waited. But Jessa felt ready. She had survived, adapted, and learned. She was part of something bigger, and the human spirit was stronger than anyone had ever imagined. And with Cale at her side, she knew they could face whatever came next. The morning sun rose slowly over Vera, 9 bathing the dusty colony in a soft golden light. Jessa Cole stood on the edge of the settlement, her gaze scanning the horizon. The previous encounters with alien scouts had been challenging, but she knew this would be different. They were coming back, and this time it would not be a simple test. Cale Rourke approached her, calm as always. He carried a small bag of gadgets, each one carefully designed to turn ordinary objects into tools of defense. His green eyes caught hers. "They're coming," he said simply. Jessa tightened her grip on her blaster. "Then let's make sure they regret it." Together they walked through the colony, rallying the miners and workers. Jessa had noticed a change over the past few days. The colonists were no longer nervous or fearful. Instead, they listened, followed instructions, and prepared clever defenses under Cale and Jessa's guidance. Humans underestimated, yes, but when humans worked together, they became unstoppable. Cale handed out small devices to the workers, Tools that could trigger alarms, emit flashes of light, or confuse sensors. Jessa helped show them how to use old mining equipment as improvised barricades or traps. Each person, each tool, each idea added to their growing network of defenses. By midday, the colony was ready. Every path leading to the settlement had traps, distractions, and improvised defenses. Every building had hidden warning signals, and every worker knew their role. Humans were clever, adaptive, and prepared, and Jessa felt a surge of pride as she watched it all come together. Then, the first shadows appeared on the horizon. The alien ships descended, larger and faster than the scouts had been. Their sleek forms glinted in the sunlight, engines humming with quiet menace. Jessa felt her heart race, but she did not falter. She glanced at Kale, who gave her a small nod. They had prepared for this. Humans may have been underestimated, but now the odds were in their favor. The first wave of ships entered the traps. Sparks flew from the improvised drills, carts rolled to block paths, and flashing lights temporarily blinded the ship's sensors. Jessa fired carefully, targeting weak points Kale had shown her, while the colonists activated alarms and devices, creating confusion and chaos for the alien attackers. Kale moved like a shadow beside her, precise and deliberate. Every action had a purpose, every plan executed with intelligence and foresight. Jessa followed instinctively, her mind aligned with his. They were no longer just individuals. They were the center of a human force that relied on brains, courage, and cleverness. The aliens adjusted quickly, trying to regroup. But humans were unpredictable. Every trap, every distraction had been designed to exploit their assumptions. Jessa ducked as a small ship's laser grazed the ground near her feet, then ran to activate a nearby trap that sent rolling metal sheets to block the alien's path. Sparks flew. The air smelled of scorched metal, dust, and tension. Kale shouted over the chaos, "Focus on their weaknesses. They expect brute force, but we're smarter than that." Jessa understood immediately. Humans didn't need to overpower. They needed to outthink. They needed to show that strength came not just from weapons or size, but from courage, teamwork, and ingenuity. The aliens faltered. One ship crashed into a barricade, another became trapped in a clever pit disguised with dust and debris. Colonists cheered quietly from hidden vantage points as their defenses worked perfectly. Jessa's heart soared. This was what humans could do. Think fast, adapt quickly, and turn even simple materials into powerful tools. Kale turned to Jessa. "Keep moving. They'll try a flanking maneuver." Jessa sprinted toward a side path, activating another set of traps. She fired at weak points with precision, then ducked behind a pile of scrap metal as a ship passed overhead. She could feel the pulse of human ingenuity flowing through the colony, every worker, every trap, every plan coming together to protect them all. The battle raged for hours, the twin suns gradually descending as the alien fleet weakened. Each move the aliens made was countered by clever human tactics. Jessa could hardly believe what she was witnessing. Humans, underestimated for so long, were turning the tide of battle through intelligence, courage, and unity. Finally, the alien commander realized their attacks were failing. They retreated, disappearing beyond the horizon, leaving Vera 9 intact. The colony erupted in quiet celebration. Humans had won not by sheer power, but by using what they had: brains, creativity, and the courage to act. Jessa leaned against a metal crate, breathing heavily. Kale approached, a faint smile on his face. "You see now? Humans aren't weak. We're underestimated, yes, but underestimated humans are dangerous." Jessa nodded, feeling a swell of pride. "I get it now. It's not just about surviving. It's about using our minds, working together, and turning the odds in our favor." Kale looked around at the colony, the workers emerging from hiding, their faces shining with relief and pride. Exactly. This is how humans thrive. And this is just one settlement. Imagine the impact if all colonies did this. Jessa smiled. She had never thought she could make such a difference. She had survived, adapted, and now helped protect an entire colony. She realized something important. Humans were remarkable. Not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to give up. Because they thought, adapted, and acted when others hesitated. That evening, as the twin moons rose over Vera, the colony was safe, the workers proud, and the aliens defeated for now. "You did well," Kale said, looking at her with respect. "You're learning what it means to be human in the best way possible. Brave, clever, and resourceful." Jessa laughed softly. "I couldn't have done it without you." "No," Kale said quietly. "You did it because you are human. I only showed you the way." She looked out over the horizon, the twin moons casting silver light on the dusty land. Somewhere beyond, other colonies awaited protection, other challenges loomed. But Jessa felt ready. Humans had survived against impossible odds before, and they would survive again, smarter and stronger than anyone expected. "Do you think they'll come back?" she asked. Kale shook his head. "Maybe. But next time we'll be ready. Humans always are." Jessa nodded, feeling the weight and thrill of responsibility. She had witnessed the power of human ingenuity firsthand and had become part of it. Every trap, every plan, every brave act had shown her something she had always known deep down. Humans were underestimated, and underestimated humans could achieve the impossible. The colony settled into a quiet night, the twin moons reflecting off metal roofs, casting shadows that danced in the wind. Jessa and Kale stood silently watching the stars. "This is only the beginning," Jessa said quietly. Kale smiled. "Yes, but it's a beginning that will change the way the galaxy sees humans. Brave, clever, and unyielding. That's us." Jessa felt a thrill of purpose. She had survived, adapted, and contributed to something bigger than herself. The galaxy might never know the full story, but that didn't matter. Humans didn't act for recognition. They acted to survive, to protect, to create, and in that moment she felt proud to be human. The twin moons shone over Vera. Somewhere out there, beyond the horizon, the galaxy was vast and full of danger. But Jessa knew one thing. Humans would endure. Humans would rise. And humans, underestimated though they might be, would continue to shine in ways the stars had never seen before. And together, Jessa and Kale walked back into the colony, ready to face whatever came next, because underestimated humans were the most dangerous of all.